Strong leadership is not simply learning to manage others. It's learning to manage yourself in order to be able to inspire and empower others to deliver excellence. Hey guys, Snyder here. I believe that entrepreneurship is a lot less sexy and oftentimes more lonely than it's portrayed in the media. And that's why I'm dedicated to helping entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders grow themselves alongside their businesses. I am so jazzed that you have checked out my article. It's the second in the series, and I could talk about this stuff for hours. I actually kind of do, but there's only so much that you can fit into a 750-word article. So in this video, I want to share with you a few concepts in a little bit more depth that my clients have found incredibly helpful along their journey. So the first concept I want to dive deeper into is the zone of genius. And in the article, I talked about how important it is to find this zone of genius, which is the work that you are intrinsically great at, that you enjoy, that time stands still or flies by, and that the business needs, right? That's fundamental to moving the business forward to its growth. And once you identify that, of course, you can't just start doing only that work overnight. The trick is to think longer term about the type of work and what a role looks like that would encompass that work, and what the other roles and support of the organization would be needed for you to primarily focus on that work. So think about your organization, and if you were to draw the structure of departments, how many of those departments have your name at the top right now? Probably a lot, right? And I know what you're probably thinking, Alex, I can't afford a whole executive team overnight either. That's not the idea. You want to start by delegating tasks that are most repeatable, furthest from your zone of genius, and focus really on things that are more tactical and less strategic. So initially, you're going to be able to delegate that to current team members or maybe some fractional support experts. If you're interested in that and you have questions, I have a lot of great contacts in the outsourcing industry, so feel free to reach out. And once you get a little bit bigger and get a little further along this process, you're going to want to start thinking about carving out entire roles. And as the business grows, you'll be able to actually hire people in for that. Now, essentially, this process means as the business grows, you're replacing yourself at regular intervals. And depending on the speed and growth of the business will depend on how kind of frequently you replace yourself. But the idea is to move yourself into higher and higher level tasks, particularly in the decision-making realms of the business. And through this, you'll build autonomy and self-sufficiency and resiliency in the business. Initially, you will still be the decision maker for most things, but eventually you will also need people, process, and governance to allow you to shift more and more into your zone of genius niche. Otherwise, you're going to be scattered across too many areas and you will become a bottleneck to the team. So this means that you need to start thinking about what are the roles that will allow you to truly narrow your focus and make that shift, even at the decision-making level, and identify if there are people in the organization that you feel can be brought up into those roles and start to figure out the trajectory for that and coach them. Or if you want to look at bringing some senior experts into the business, that's a whole topic on its own. There's so many ways to do it. So if you have questions, feel free to hit me up. The second topic I want to dive deeper into is the red pen. This is a tiny concept that has incredible ripple effect once you nail it. So being the red pen or holding the red pen means you are the editor, you are the guide, and sometimes you're the accountability police. And your team holding the black pen means they're the writer. They're generating the bulk of content, they are the doer, and you give them feedback and then let them learn by iterating and correcting the work themselves. This can feel slow and tedious when you first start, but stick with it and your team will fundamentally shift. They will be more empowered, they will be able to own their roles, and I promise you, once you get there, the business will feel different. So a great place to start is by creating standard operating procedures or SOPs. And you can work with your team on the structure that you want these to be in. You can definitely give that guidance or have them Google some templates and approve one. And then once that's done, choose a process that they know really, really well, or maybe there's an area of the business that recently had an issue that you resolved together, so they're very familiar with how things should be done. Have the team draft the SOP, bring it to you for feedback. The first one, it might require a few rounds of back and forth editing, but the subsequent ones will go much faster. And the added bonus here is that this type of dynamic will actually have your team start thinking differently, seeing the business differently. They will likely step up in their work, bring more suggestions and ideas to the table. So it's a win-win-win all around. So the third concept I want to dig into is safe places to fail. And this one sounds a little odd, so let me break it down for you. When you are creating this autonomy, really delegating, creating ownership within your teams and allowing them to step into their roles more fully, you're essentially pushing the baby birds off the ledge to learn to fly solo. And you want to make sure that there's a sufficiently safe environment in which to do so. So there is room for them to make mistakes and correct them themselves. The idea is to build their skills and build their confidence without introducing unnecessary risk into the business. This can be achieved in a lot of different ways. You can have early or false deadlines where there is space for reviews and rework as needed. You can also choose projects where the risk of external reputational damage or internal damage is minimized. Sometimes in this process, there will be little wake-up calls. The idea is to give opportunity for ownership and growth. But if there is a learning curve or somebody does drop the ball, you want to ensure that there's no permanent damage to the business. Okay, that's it for today. The next article is going to be full of juicy content, so stay tuned. And if you're hungry for more and you simply can't wait for the next issue, you can head across to my website, alexsnyder.com, and see all the places that I talk about strategy, leadership, and more, as well as my podcast, As Yet Unknown, Adventures in Entrepreneurship, where every episode, a guest and myself sit down and we dig into the nitty-gritty of entrepreneurship, passion projects, and defining leadership moments.